Friends, welcome back to another classic review. My name is Mindcrime 3625, and today we're going to take a look at the much anticipated review of Operation Mindcrime, the third studio album by Queensryche that dropped in 1988. And this one is going to be a concept album, therefore it tells the story of the heroin addict Nicky, who seeks out his daily fix by going to a man by the name of Dr. X, and in turn he uses this as a sort of mind control thing to have him assassinate political leaders. And over the course of this album, you can just feel the feelings of intensity building up off the previous song. This is not just an album, this is a musical journey. Thus, I will not be doing a track by track, as it would not be doing this album justice. I'll go through my highlights and some of my favorite songs, but this album is meant to be listened to as a whole. It's not meant to just take certain songs and just listen to your favorites. I find myself always listening to it just from I Remember Now down to Eyes of a Stranger, because Eyes of a Stranger is probably the best closer in the entire album. I Don't Believe in Love is probably the climax, therefore it's one of my favorite songs. And Revolution Calling is the first actual, song, quote-unquote, because the first two songs are intros. Delving into it, I love this album. I first heard this album, a couple weeks ago, and my first exposure to Queensryche being the dreadful, abysmal 2011 release dedicated to Chaos, so I kind of wrote these guys off for a little while as shit, which was my mistake, of course, because they are actually very, very good. I've listened to, so far, Operation Mindcrime and Empire. Those are the only two albums that I have right now. So, I will be taking a look at the rest of their discography, because both of these albums are stellar. So, delving into Mindcrime, though, it begins with a set of two intros, about a minute and 30 seconds long. I Remember Now and Anarchy X. And this basically sets up for the entire mood of the album, the entire tone. And the first one, I Remember Now, begins with a nurse talking about giving Nicky a shot. And, well, it's the perfect intro. I mean, you can just feel just all the themes and all the emotions of intensity just building up, as I said before, from this very song. It starts off slow, and then it just builds up intensity. Not necessarily aggressive, but just the album as a whole just builds up on the other songs, I guess. Vocals, stellar. Tone, stellar. Guitars, drums, everything is just where it needs to be on this album. Nothing is out of place. So, basically, you're not going to find a lot of solos on Mindcrime, but that's because of, it's basically just in the lyrics. That's where the true strength of this album lies, in Mindcrime, is the lyrics. So, some of my favorite songs off here, Revolution Calling, Operation, which is also the title track, Eyes of a Stranger, of course, I Don't Believe in Love, The Needle Lies is another one, so Breaking the Silence, I mean, they're all good, but those are a few of my favorites, and of course, the 10-minute long epic Sweet Sister Mary, so all those are perfect, practically. So, I know I'm praising this album to high heaven, but in all honesty, I can't really see anything wrong with it. I mean, I personally, this amazes me. I personally usually bash concept albums because of whatever reason. I don't know. I just personally don't like them. Because, I've heard, 1,000 Suns, which I don't like it at all. And I've heard, Images and Words. That was alright. It was good, but not really, up there. But this one is how pretty much all concept albums should strive to be. So, it tells the story, but the music is good. That's pretty much why I don't like concept albums. Usually it's a good story, but they're focusing more on the lyrics and on the story versus the music, which is what the album is supposed to entail, is its music. So, but this album actually does it perfectly. Everything's spot on and where it needs to be, and the songs, even the 10-minute long Sweet Sister Mary, does not get old. It doesn't get boring, it doesn't get stale. I could listen, to it just 3 or 4 different times over and not be bored of it. So, it keeps your attention, basically. And that's what all long songs really need to be. Because there's a lot of those, 13, 14-minute long songs where you're just like, oh, change, And, that's not the case with this album, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So I really don't have any gripes about this, but I'm going to give Mindcrime a 10 out of 10 because it truly and honestly deserves it. I only heard this album a few weeks ago, but it's already one of my favorites. So it's got a great story, great lead vocals, great guitars, and you know, I'm listening to Empire right now, and that one's not really disappointing either. So really makes you feel bad about where Queensryche is headed as of late. So, well, more on that later. So, 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching. This is Midnight Strike 3625. Keep calm and rock on.